Welcome to the cockpit. My name's Ryan, and I'll be your pilot tonight, boys and girls. I'm very excited because the New York Jets did something that I've been begging them to do all off season, and that is bringing back one Connor McGovern. Very happy to see this come to fruition. This stream brought to you by, powered by BetUS. Guys, if you want to head over there, get a 150% bonus match up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits, up to $2,000 using promo code YouTube150. I'll show you guys some of my favorite bets. We'll take a look at them in a little bit here, but I want to get your thoughts, reactions to some of the news revolving around Connor McGovern. We'll do a quick little stream here, nothing too crazy. Let's call it a half hour. Do a little half hour action here. So if you guys want to let me know your thoughts on bringing back Connor McGovern, what you expect from him, will he see some time as a starter? Is he just a reserve role? What are your thoughts? So really looking forward to that. Oreo, I see you over in the vertical chat. All you have to do is go over to the channel. There's the shorts version, which is a vertical version of this stream, and there is a horizontal version on the other side of the channel. So if you're on the vertical side and you want to come over to the landscape version, you can click over into the channel. That's just helping the discoverability of it all. But thank you so much for coming in here. Now let's talk a little bit about the Connor McGovern of it all, right? We had last year, obviously we drafted Joe Tippmann in the second round. We want him to be the heir apparent at center. Last year, Jets signed Connor McGovern to a vet minimum contract because Aaron Rodgers wanted a veteran center snapping him the ball. Last preseason, training camp, a little bit throughout the regular season, we saw Joe Tippmann struggle with some snapping the ball. Saw this, I shouldn't say preseason, this training camp, snaps going over his head, issues like that. I have not seen any problems really since probably the middle part of August at this point. So I do think Tippmann is going to remain the starter. I do not think Connor McGovern was brought in to supplant him in any kind of capacity. I do think that this was always the plan, right? I've been saying it since the last few weeks ago, like since Connor McGovern was not signed back towards the draft or throughout the offseason, I was like, you know what? This feels like a move that just makes too much sense for everyone involved. Whether it is the Jets and needing more interior offensive line depth, if it's Connor McGovern and not really having another, I don't want to say another option, but it didn't seem like other teams were jockeying for his services. And then there was a thought maybe he was injured or something along those lines. But this move just made all the sense in the world. I don't think the numbers have been released on whatever the contract is. He's signing with the practice squad right now. I'm sure he'll be elevated, I would think, by game day, as long as he's healthy enough. And I just love this move. One, it provides great depth behind Joe Tippmann with a center who already knows the offense, already knows the quarterback, worked with him all through last training camp last year. Now, by signing Connor McGovern after week 1, his salary is not guaranteed. So if there is any concern for injury, that might alleviate some of that concern. I see Cuddy in here. What's up, Cuddy? Nice of you to chime in. He says, McGovern is a possible guard backup upgrade as well. So that's where I was kind of going with all this. Not only is he a center, he has interior offensive line flexibility, as Cuddy mentions here. And I do think that this, at the very least, provides insurance for Elijah Vera-Tucker, who's coming off that Achilles injury, and provides a little bit of, not pushback, but a little bit of, what's the word I'm looking for? A little bit of competition for John Simpson on the other side. I don't think this is shaking up our offensive line in any capacity, but just having that interior depth is really nice. Now, we do have Wes Schweitzer, who has some center guard flexibility. We do have Xavier Newman, who has guard, very little center, backup capabilities. And I don't think in an ideal world we want Wes or Xavier Newman out on the field snapping the ball. But at least if Connor McGovern was forced to come in, that gives you that little bit of options there, as well as just having the guard depth, right? And the interior part of this offensive line was an area that I thought felt pretty weak at the time of the final 53-man cut down. So this was just a great signing. I do expect it to be for the vet minimum, which I believe is just over $2 million this year. Every year that the salary cap increases, that veteran minimum does tend to increase. As far as what his Pro Football Focus grades were the last few years, last year was a bad year for Connor McGovern in terms of his overall statistics. It was his worst year since his second season in the league. His overall grade since arriving with the New York Jets. He started out as a 62.2, nothing crazy. Went up to a 75.9, then down to a 69.6, down to a 48.5 last year. I do think the last 3 seasons saw an impact because of Zach Wilson. And I think now that you have a quarterback that can get rid of the ball quicker, understands blocking concepts and leverage and which guys need to be blocking which direction, like, I think Rodgers is going to get the most out of his offensive lineman. Like, even just through 1 week of play against the 49ers, even though the Jets did not, move the ball effectively, especially in the running game, we were pretty effective in the passing game. I think I saw the stat from, or maybe it wasn't a stat, I guess it was just overall offensive line rankings from the 33rd team. The Jets were number 2, I believe, behind only the New Orleans Saints, if I have that correct. So I'm happy with this. I think this is a smart move. I think it's a long season. The guys on the offensive line are going to get banged up, dinged up. We're going to see Connor McGovern at some point. It's the same reason all of us, or a large, substantial portion of the fan base wanted to sign or wanted to draft Olu Fashanu or some other tackle at the top of the draft. And it's that extra level of insurance. We've seen so many injuries. Let's just load up everything we possibly can and not worry about it any longer. So I like this from that standpoint. I would say the only knock that I have on Connor McGovern from his time with the New York Jets was there were a few times where Zach Wilson just got absolutely laid out or was hit late. And normally your offensive line, particularly your center, will kind of get up into the defensive player's face and let him have it a little bit. Like, hey, like, that's my quarterback, you don't touch him. And we saw it multiple times where Connor McGovern just kind of walked away and didn't really, it seemed like he was irritated at Zach Wilson. And maybe that's true because Zach held on to the ball too long, made them look a lot worse, hurt their financial potential by, hey, there's a certain amount of sacks given up, or maybe you don't get an extra contract, or it makes you look worse when the quarterback's holding on to the ball a little bit longer. So if I had one gripe with him, it was that. I don't expect that to be the case with Rodgers here. And look, in a non-starting capacity, purely as depth role, no issues whatsoever. His worst games last year were against Dallas, which is where we just got absolutely nuked after the high emotional roller coaster of week 1 last year. Micah Parsons absolutely destroyed us. Not that he was going against Connor McGovern, but McGovern did not have a good day last year either. And then he took, 18 snaps in the Giant game before getting hurt. And then we wound up losing, I think it was Wes. And then we lost Tittman. It was like 3 guys. Because I think that was the game where Xavier Newman took his first snap, if I'm not mistaken. And everyone just got jacked up. Maybe Tittman was at guard still before he moved to center. I don't remember the exact thing, how it played out. But it was absolutely wonky. Super wonky. So I'm glad to have him back. Happy to have him back in here. Cuddy pops in again. Thank you, Cuddy, with the $5 super chat. Let me just move this up here. As much as I want to put him in the rearview mirror, as much as I want to put him in the rearview, curious why Becton at guard wasn't tried here. I didn't mind his play last week. Go Jets, you're the man. Cuddy, I like you. As far as Becton is concerned, he was a left tackle. Remember, that's all he wanted to be. Heck, us trying him at right tackle was like driving people up a wall, and he did not want to. I shouldn't say it was driving people up a wall. Everyone wanted to see him have that flexibility. He had to earn his spot, and he didn't feel like he needed to. He was the number 11 overall pick in that draft. He played well as a rookie, and then in his mind, and I understand this, in his mind, the last time he had started for us after his rookie campaign was, I got injured. And that was at the very beginning part of the season against the Carolina Panthers. And he missed that entire season. Then the next year, before he had a chance to play in the regular season, he gets hurt in preseason or at training camp. He gets knocked out for another year. So go fast forward to last year, and now he has an opportunity to try and stay healthy, and he comes in and just didn't really play that great. But in his mind, he was always the left tackle or always a tackle when he was healthy. There was no reason for him to have to fight for a spot in his mind. Now, look, I wish we could have tried him at guard. A lot of fans did say, hey, let's kick him into guard. Let's just see what happens. Worst case scenario, big man's a big man in the middle. Like, it's okay. He's not doesn't have to have the speed needed to maybe take on some of those edge rushers, and he is performing a little bit better at the guard position than he is or than he was at the tackle position. It's disappointing to see, but I wish we could have tried it here. I really do. I think his time was up. I feel like the coaches were probably a little sour on him. There's always those little, when I kind of look at the players that were on this team over the course of the last year and a half, 2 years or so, there's certain players that just sort of rubbed me the wrong way. Mecole Hardman was obviously one of them last year, giving away team secrets and shit like that, playbook shit. You have Becton was always kind of chirping. Elijah Moore always rubbed me the wrong way. So to see them kind of pushed that kind of player and mindset out was much needed. And you look at the players they brought in, right? Like Zach got jettisoned out of here through trade. We bring in a Jordan Travis. This kid, certainly not a number 2 overall pick, almost had his dreams stolen from him at the tail end of the collegiate season with a terrible leg injury. Gonna have a second chance. I feel like there's a different level of what's the word? Not it's just a different path, right? Like, but coming out of college, Zach Wilson, he was the 3-car garage kid. He was, it was the COVID season. He was able to play against maybe not the best level of competition with great offensive linemen. You juxtapose that with Travis, he really made FSU the team they were. And ever since he got hurt and going into this season, now there's just, FSU is not really the team that they were in years past. So I like where he comes from. Elijah Moore, being a little bit of a screw loose kind of character, having Malachi Corley come in, drafted. He has much more of a willingness to do whatever it is. He's a gadget player. He turned down an NIL deal at Western Kentucky from another team to stay at Western Kentucky. And I feel like that's a loyalty I want to see with our players, the same way us fans are loyal, right? Like, we're through hell or high water, we are here with our team, whether it's good or bad. we have certainly had a lot of reasons to jump off this train. And it's nice to see when the fans don't give up, a player doesn't give up on their team. So I do like that. Like I mentioned, Mekhi Becton didn't want to play one of the interior offensive line positions. And Olu Fashanu comes in fresh out of college, only played left tackle, said, I'll play anywhere. I'll try it. Game 1 of preseason, left tackle. Game 2 of preseason, right tackle. I guarantee if we needed him in a pinch to play guard, I think he would at least try it. I don't think there's any willingness issues with him whatsoever. Dalvin Cook last year could not block to save his life, would not be willing to stick his nose in there to stop a blitzing linebacker. Isaiah Davis, Braylon Allen, these dudes are bullies. They will absolutely go in there and hit a blitzing linebacker. So I really like this. I like it a lot. I think we've shifted the way the Jets organization thinks about players. Like, obviously, we always were trying to draft guys that were team captains on their collegiate teams or had good character to begin with. But occasionally you try to take that risk, right? Like Becton was one of those guys that popped a negative drug test or a positive drug test at the combine. That is your biggest job interview. And for you to pop a drug test probably says there's some degree of like discipline issues. Elijah Moore, I said it the minute we drafted him. Hey, he cost his team at Ole Miss a bowl game because he decided it was more important for him to celebrate, piss like a dog in the end zone, push the extra point, an extra 15 yards back, and guess what? The kicker wound up missing the extra point, cost his team the game. There's just lots of things that I think you can point to and say, all right, well, now it feels like they're getting it right. The characters we brought in basically since 2022, I've felt pretty strongly about through the draft. See Cameron in there saying this is a great signing. Oreo says, do you think the Jets regret trading JFM for a bag of chips and not re-signing Huff? I think everyone overestimated the plug-and-play defensive line. No, I think there's definitely there's probably some level of regret with Huff, but I don't think it was from this last offseason. I think it was more for the year prior. Like, hey, if we had hit him with the first-round tender or re-signed him then, we may not have had to pay a $17 million a year contract. From a source that I know, the Jets were willing to go to $17 million a year with Huff, and he just did not want to negotiate with us. So he wound up choosing to go with the Eagles, who ultimately wound up paying him $17 million. So a little frustrating there. As far as JFM goes, I don't really understand why we didn't offer him some type of deal for like, it almost felt like, hey, Denver, we're going to trade you Zach Wilson, and your fan base is going to be pissed, and we're going to be like, oh, okay, cool, the Jets got something back for him. And then, hey, during draft day when it's all cool, calm, and like we're all hyped on everything, then we're going to trade you JFM for peanuts. Because JFM signed a contract, and O'Leary was like, I can't believe the Jets didn't do that. And JFM retweets this and says that they didn't even make an offer. Like, how they didn't think that JFM was a valuable piece, even if you didn't think he was, worth it at his whatever his contract was at the time. I thought he was someone that could have been restructured for the next 2 years and kept. So I do think there is a little bit of regret from losing those two players. I think ideally you're hoping to get a lot more out of Kinlaw this year. He was a former first-round pick. There's a lot of high upside there. I think you were banking on Hassan Reddick playing. I'm not so sure that's going to happen at all this season. So I don't know. This defensive line is going to be really interesting to watch as we go through the rest of the season. Steven comes in. Yo, Ryan, what's up? Man, glad your Jets are healthy. Steven, I appreciate that. Our Jets are looking pretty good right now. I'm knocking on wood. I just want to see them slowly move through. I don't want to say slowly move through the season, but I want to see them methodically move through the season, get better and better and better as this offensive line starts to gel together. I think you'll start to see that, and then hopefully we don't have to worry about backups. Jacob, what's good, dude? Love to see he's back. Need quality backups. Jacob, you are the man, and I appreciate you. If you don't know, Jacob's been helping me out with, well, actually, I guess you probably don't know because I haven't been able to post stuff yet. But Jacob's been helping me out with a little bit of back-end every play type videos. So it's going to be fun throughout the season once we figure out how to exactly get them posted all the way. The every throw video for Rodgers, the traditional one that I normally do, got flagged and they would not let me post it. And I don't know if that was because of like the Disney dispute with DirecTV and maybe that's what was going on, or if they're just getting, super strict on posting stuff. Usually all the financial side of things goes to the NFL in that case, but for this one, they just blocked the entire video. So Jacob and I are working on it. We're going to get you some stuff. If you guys are a member of the channel, so like 𝐿 and 𝐂𝐷𝐿, I see you guys in there. You guys are going to get the channel members themselves. You guys are going to get exclusive every throw videos or every play videos. I'm going to do the every throw video for Rodgers still for the public, but if you guys want to see some other ones, this past week we did every snap for Will McDonald. So every snap for Will McDonald is up on the back end there. 𝐿 saying he's going to back up Tittman or if someone gets hurt at guard. Good depth. Completely agree. 𝐂𝐷𝐿 says, do you know if Olu will get some snaps with Tyrod? It's probably not a bad idea, but like I don't really want to see Tyrod in at all. I don't want to see Tyrod in at quarterback. Did Olu go in at all for the tail end of this past game? I think Carter Warren was in because I think Mitchell was out and who were the inactives? Was it Carter and him? I thought they had a different offensive line in the last series or so, but I also like kind of tuned myself out. Sorry, hitting the microphone. Kind of tuned myself out the last little bit there. A. Senior. None of this matters because they cannot stop the run. They don't have a run stop in the middle. They're getting away with good pass rush, or they were getting away with good pass rush, and they don't even have Reddick now. I would say let's just wait and hold off a game or two. Obviously, Pollard had a good week last week against the Bears, but we do have Fotu. Fotu's on the short-term IR for 4 weeks. I do think we get him back. I think you'll probably see Leonard Taylor III get activated this week. I was a little concerned why that was not the case. I also think if the Jets are playing a semi-competitive game, you have a little bit more opportunities to pass rush. And the Jets were just in a position basically since the end of the first half where we didn't know what was coming. We couldn't get them into longer downs and distances. It is a problem, right? Like you got to get pressure on the quarterback. You got to be able to stop the run. I'm not overly concerned right now because that was a Shanahan-led offense and we're not facing Shanahan every single time. Granted, we do face his protege down in Miami twice a year. So I would like to get that figured out before we face the Dolphins. They're going to have a lot of opportunities to crack some big runs with Achane and with Mostert back there. Caleb, do you think we get any defensive help? Bring back JFM or Folu Fatukasi. Actually, that's not a bad idea. I don't know if Fatukasi is necessarily a fit for the defense anymore. I feel like that was the reason we moved off of him. Maybe I'm wrong. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong on that one. JFM's been traded to the Broncos, so he's not going anywhere. Cuddy, saying milk thumbs, boys and girls. That's right. Hit the like button. If you guys are enjoying the show or enjoy the little late night stream action, it's greatly appreciated if you hit that like button. FSU has not won a game since Travis left. Future GOAT. Damn right. Damn right. Oreo asked, do you believe the Jets re-signed Joe Douglas? Let's be honest, he's living off 3 good draft picks, Sauce, Garrett Wilson, Brees. Other than that, what has he done? No other picks have worked, and none of his free agents have worked. Well, he finds talent, right? Like, look at this roster. Would you rather have the roster today or the roster from when he got here? It's like wildly different. This is a Super Bowl contending team or a Super Bowl caliber roster, is that, or at least that's what we're kind of led to believe as fans. I believe it is. I would re-sign Joe Douglas. I do think he is the best GM that we've had since I've been watching. Obviously I saw Parcells, I saw Tannenbaum, and there's certainly issues with some of Joe Douglas, but at the very least, I really do like how he finds talent, not just through the draft, but through trade, through the waiver wire. It seems to Michael Carter II, great draft pick. You didn't mention that one. Jermaine Johnson, who fell really far into the first round. You were able to get him at the tail end of the first. I thought that was a great draft pick. Obviously, he didn't have a great game against Trent Williams, but I think he's trending in the right direction. I would consider that a good draft pick. Ruckert, to be determined. I like where it's trending, I guess. Clemens, probably, that first year was nice. Second year, not so much. Third year, right now, not a whole heck of a lot to show. Remember, he did pull JFM off the scrap heap. He pulled Quincy Williams off the scrap heap. They were trying to stash him on the practice squad in Jacksonville, and the Jets snatched him up. All-pro linebacker. So, again, there's opportunities outside of the draft for the GM to accumulate talent, and I would re-sign Douglas. I would do it before the end of the season. If you want to, I would rather hold on to Douglas on an extension and wait for Saleh than have to wait till the end of the season. I think Douglas is worth it. I really do. And Cuddy seems to agree. He turned a bottom 3 roster into top 5. That's what Joe Douglas did. You guys are going back and forth. Name 5 rosters. Top 5, come on. Name 5 better rosters. Yeah, dude, I don't know. You're talking 49ers, maybe the Chiefs. There's really not a crazy ton of rosters that I would want over the Jets roster. Maybe you argue Miami. I don't love Tua. And there's certain aspects about their team I don't love, but their weapons are lethal. Their head coach is awesome. I really do like McDaniel a lot. Nova, do you think Reddick just doesn't want to play for us, or is it really about the money? How would this be for a trade? If the Jets were like, okay, hey, clearly we misjudged this. And guess what? Huff doesn't look so hot down there, not getting a lot of snaps. Why don't we just make a trade? let's fix the right. Let's fix the wrong that we had. And let's say we're going to trade Hassan Reddick for Bryce Huff. We don't pay the signing bonus for Huff. We get the lower cap hit for this year, and then it escalates in future years. Sign me up. Sign me up. Look, I think Reddick wants his money. I think he made a mistake, and now he's paying the price for it because now he's going to be on a 1-year. He's got over $5 million worth of fines right now. I think he's sitting at about just under $6 million worth of fines. If that's the case, then he's not. I don't see the Jets paying him unless it's on an extended deal, and I would not like the Jets to do that. I don't know how this works out other than him getting traded to a team that does want to give him a good deal, or he sits and just the Jets wait and hey, I'd rather have 6 games at the end of the season with him than trading him away for nothing or whatever. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting thing to see how it plays out. I don't know if it's necessarily he doesn't want to be here. Boba Jet, welcome to the economy class. Where's my button? Thanks so much. You now have access to the exclusive Every Snap video. I did put up a poll question in our live chat too. If you guys wanted to watch a little Thursday Night Football, Bills and Dolphins are playing. We could do a little watch party for that game, kind of do a little division rival scouting. It won't be me necessarily calling the game so much as it will be me watching the game, trying to diagnose a little bit more. We could talk a little bit. We could talk about the Jets. We could do whatever else. So if you guys are interested in that, drop a vote in the live chat in there. Let's see. Let's go through a little bit more. What am I at? I'm at 26 minutes. Let's go to let's do maybe I'll do 40 minutes. Just a little hangout sesh here. So let's do this. Let's head over to BetUS. I do want to show you guys. I want to take a look at what the lines are for the Titans game and see if there is a anything that I like as far as like betting odds go. So let's head over here. Search a little JETS. See what they got going on. For those of you that don't know, get 150% bonus match on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000 with code YouTube150. Let's see. Our Jets are playing the Titans this week. What do they got for us here? So they're saying Jets are favored by 3.5 points. The over-under is 41 points. What did we see this past week? This past week was like 50, right? What was it, 19 to 32. So what is that, 51 points? I do think the Jets can clear 41 points. I think they'll be able to do that. But usually the first 2 weeks of the season, you'll see those struggles. So if I'm looking at this, what do I have for game props? They might not have game props up yet. No, they do. First scoring play, touchdown, field goal. Let's see if there's anything that I like on here. Win margin by 3. Jets to win by more than 6. I don't like the prop bets. So if I'm looking at the Jets stuff, I'd probably do Jets money line. I think the Jets are going to be pissed off after losing on national TV. I think they'll want to take it out on the Titans. They have a bunch of former Titan coaches too. I feel like that adds a little bit of extra firepower in the meeting room, or a little extra, like, I don't know, paying attentionness, focus maybe. And then I'll go the over on 41 points. I don't think I'm going to touch the spread. I'd obviously take the Jets, but I don't think I'm going to touch the spread on that one. So if you guys want to head over there, get 150% bonus match on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000 when you use code YouTube150. All right. What else we got going on in the chat? Scroll down a little bit more. Let's see. Parrish says, I wish the Jets didn't draft Will McDonald back in 2023. He was borderline first-round picked too high. Jets should have drafted JSN at wide receiver and extended Bryce Huff. Yeah, we were saying that at the time. When the Jets made the selection of Will McDonald and they announced it as a linebacker first and foremost, I was like, what did we just do? And then it was edge rusher, and I was like, now I'm really upset because I thought we had a really good edge rush with Carl Lawson and Bryce Huff and JFM. And, like, you know, in the long run, probably not the worst decision, knowing they weren't going to redo or rework Huff and bring him back. I think there were some issues with, I don't know. Look, as far as missing out on the tackles, Broderick Jones, that's the pick I would have done if you had stayed at pick 13 before you traded down to 15 with the Rodgers thing. Obviously, he goes 1 pick ahead of us because the Patriots trade out. I don't think I would. When I second guess it, I look at is it the guard from the Chiefs that they wound up taking late? Is that Voorhees? He's from Tennessee. I think that's where he wound up. That would have been the pick, I think. Offensive lineman. JSN's fine. I wouldn't have hated it. Like, obviously Garrett Wilson and Jeremy Ruckert played with him at Ohio State. So if there was some degree of like, this guy's a stud, we got to get him, then I would have liked to have, seen Joe Douglas lean on some of that thought process with our own players. Now, obviously, he's got to make his own pick. But, yeah, I didn't love the Will McDonald pick at the time of selection either. Scott, I knew we were losing. As soon as Woody released, we were wearing pickle pants. You know, I never considered them pickle pants, but I guess that's what they are. Green legs. Looking down. It's like when you take a picture of your thighs, or when girls take a picture of their thighs and you can't see the feet. They're sitting on the beach. They're in a bathing suit. And the two legs sticking out look like two hot dogs. That's the Jets, but they're green pickles. Steven asking, Ryan, let's do call-ins to the live stream. I'm not going to do call-ins tonight. I'm a little tired. I just want to rip through a few questions in the chat, get some conversation going. Alon saying, this team claiming to be a Super Bowl contender are light years behind the Lions, Niners, Chiefs, and Ravens. Just get to 1-1 against a well-coached Titans team. Yeah, look, I think we deserve to be well behind those four teams in general. I think those are the cream of the crop. I think the Jets have to earn their spot. I think we feel like we're probably in the discussion as far as talent goes. Like, I don't think that's unreasonable to consider, but we do have to win. You have to start winning games, and you have to earn your place. I don't think we're going to see what we saw Monday night. You might see some struggles over the course of the season. I do think the running game is, or not the running game, the run defense great game. That could be something that we ultimately run into. JB, Bryce Huff doesn't play every down. Couldn't justify that payday. No, I completely understand. I get that. Curly, Reddick doesn't play any downs. That's true, right? Like, would you rather have Reddick for $15 million and not playing any snaps, or Huff on a $17 million a year deal, but his cap hit is significantly lower than Reddick's this year because he signed the new contract, got the signing bonus, all that. Yeah, I would probably rather have Huff right now. Harlan saying Huff didn't want to come back to the Jets. Yeah, once they gave him the second round tender, that basically told teams, hey, we don't want to have him. We would, if we wanted to, we would have applied a first round tender so that way no one would trade for him and it would give him an extra $2 million. But we were cheap. We were like, we don't want to give him the $2 million. We want the second round pick. Gimme. And then, we're going to draft your replacement in Will McDonald. That's what we said to Bryce Huff, and I don't blame him for wanting to walk away. Dog TV says McDonald just needs to get stronger. Yeah, I just wish it would happen quicker. Jacob the Peter Griffins. It's like the London Silly Nannies, right? Was that the team from the Family Guy episodes? Steven says, I need Jets-Packers Super Bowl. You need a quarterback back from the Packers. What did they say? 6 to 8 weeks for love? At least it's not a season ender. Oreo. Do you believe Will McDonald will go down as a bust? He reminds me a little of Darren Lee. He also, do you believe we see Fashanu this year? I think he gives us more of a push in the run game. I do think we're going to see Fashanu this year, not in an extended period. I think it's going to wind up being like, spot fill-ins or maybe as a third tackle. Maybe Tyron gets slightly banged up a little bit and they're like, hey, let's just protect him and give him a week off. And let Olu play. I could see that come into play. So, yes, I do think he plays. Do I think Will McDonald will go down as a bust? I hope not, right? Like, Reddick, for his first 2 years, did not look very good. So I don't see why Will McDonald can't follow a similar path. I think Reddick was taken 17th overall. Will McDonald was 15th overall. Look, he's got a filthy spin move. If he can add a little bit of weight, add some pass rush moves, I think he can be really good. It was just not the pick I wanted to make at that point in time. Tyler, what do you think the cheapest we could get Reddick in the door for is? Clemens isn't doing it for a team that wants to make a real run. So I mentioned this the other night, and the issue with Hassan Reddick is he did not want to play on a 1-year, $15 million a year deal. Joe Douglas said he wasn't going to negotiate until he comes in the building. Hassan Reddick has now accumulated enough fines to make it basically like he was at $5 million in fines. I think he's closer to $6 million now with the loss of the game check. That was like $800,000. So let's call it 5. We'll round down, right? Do you think he wants to play on a 1-year, $10 million contract now? Nope. So that means the Jets are going to have to pay up at least $5 million more to get him in the building to match what he would have been paid that he was not happy on to begin with, that 1-year, $15 million deal. So we're adding $5 million in salary cap debt to our space now just to get back to even where we started the season. And Hassan Reddick wants more. So if he wants $20 million, let's just call it 20. Now the Jets have to pay $10 million this year to get him in the building. And $5 million we just don't get the benefit of because we're compensating for that extra fine money that Reddick had. So the only other option then to make this work is the Jets sign him to a multi-year contract. And that's where I start to get a little irked. And I would rather not do that with Reddick. I'd rather have him ball out in a contract year after he kind of had a little bit of a downturn the tail end of last year. I'd rather see this guy be a dog, work next to Quinnen Williams, opposite JJ, and really go off on a season and have him walk at the end of the season and let him go somewhere else, recoup that third-round comp pick that we gave up or third-round 2026 draft pick that we gave up to get him. That's what I want. As far as the cheapest, I don't really want to negotiate with him. I would wait and say, hey, look, how many games are you going to miss? If we get to after the Patriot game, and let's say we're 0-3 or 1-2, like maybe we win against the Titans, but we lose against the Patriots, then I think you start having a real conversation of like, okay, maybe we just pay this dude and roll the dice on him, being okay for the next 2-3 years. I don't love it. It might cost us a Breece Hall. It might cost us, one of our other young players because we sign him. But the most important thing for this team right now is these next 2 years with Rodgers. That's the lens I think a lot of us should be focused on. I as a fan, it's hard not to look at the future as well. And I would prefer not paying someone who came in from outside the organization and is doing what he's currently doing. I don't think it sets a good precedent for Joe Douglas towards other players. I think signing Michael Carter the way he did, Carter was showing up to camp. He even got hurt during camp. And he was a homegrown player. He did things the right way. I think that sends a strong message to Sauce, to Breece, to Garrett, to JJ, to AVT, all the guys that are going to have to get paid behind him. If you pay Hassan Reddick under these kinds of conditions, I think you kind of undermine yourself a little bit. So as far as what's the cheapest we can get him in the door, I think it's multi-year contract, or we force him to like, hey, dude, you got to show up unless you want to be 1 year, $15 million on the Jets in 2025 because your contract told. Billy asking, how much impact did Huff have in week 1? None. Absolutely none. Alan saying, what was alarming Monday night was we might have some glaring personnel issues, namely nose tackle, edge, minus Hassan Reddick, linebacker, safety, and wide receiver. Why do you think, maybe safety because, hey, look, I'm not overly concerned about safety right now. I think I'll be more concerned if we see consistent issues. I don't think using a 1-game sample size when most of the starters did not play in preseason. Remember, the 49ers played 2 games. Their starters did 2 games in preseason. So they're at least shaking off some of the rust. Not to mention they're just it's hard to argue they aren't a better team. Like we were an underdog for a reason. There's 2 games we were underdogs in. This was one of them. I think there's certainly areas of concern to monitor for the next week or 2. I think the 3 games in 10 days will be very telling as to which pressure points we have on our team. I don't think linebacker's an issue. I really don't. Safety, maybe some level of concern. That's a TBD for me. I'm not overly concerned at wide receiver. I really do think we're going to get Davante Adams at the trade deadline. And at the very least, I think we'll probably try to incorporate more tight end looks as opposed to wide receivers. Nose tackle, I think, is a concern for sure. No, not getting enough pressure. I think we had pressure on 3 snaps out of 25 dropbacks or whatever it wound up being. It wasn't a lot. But again, I don't know. I don't know why they didn't move JJ to the other side. I understand you want him to go against Trent Williams, but why not send your second best or third best edge rusher against Trent Williams, knowing you're just going to throw the towel in and not be able to get past him, and then let your best edge rusher right now in JJ go against their right tackle. That would have been the move I would have made to see how that goes. And then as far as the nose tackle goes, I think we should activate Leonard Taylor for this week just to see what he has in the middle. Or maybe you consider moving JJ inside a little bit more next to Quinnen, and then you have Will McDonald and I guess Clemens on the outside. The D-line's a little funky right now. I don't love it. But I wouldn't say glaring personnel issues yet. I think that's a little too premature for that. Curly, we let Huff walk for nothing and traded JFM at a for a half-eaten glazed donut. Terrible asset management. Yeah, look, I said at the time during last year's season, when we get to the trade deadline, if you are not extending Huff, trade him right now. There is no reason to allow Huff to walk. And we didn't do it. It was a bad move. Terrible use of assets. I completely agree with you. JFM for a half-eaten glazed donut. I think that it's tinfoil hat thing, and I can't prove it, but I think that was a handshake and a wink and a nod agreement, like during the Zach Wilson trade, where it was like, oh, hey, the Jets we traded Zach and it wasn't all that bad. But then we're like, okay, hey, we'll trade you JFM for like a discount because, thanks for taking Zach. I think that's kind of how it went down. But that's a little tinfoil hatty of me to say. Boba, our newest, well, I guess renewest, because you got the Gold Jets. You've been a member for a while. Newest remember of the Jets Talk 24/7 family. I don't think it's likely, or I don't think this is likely, but since almost everyone didn't see us winning against San Francisco, do you think the coaching staff saw this as a fourth preseason game to get our feet wet? I hope not. I hope that's not the way they approach this game. You very much want to go into it thinking you can win. Even the halfway point of the game, it felt like we were still in it. Like Rodgers having the ball in his hands gives this team hope. I will say them going in for a score before half and then knowing they were getting the ball after gave me some concern. And then obviously them scoring after half was not ideal. We're rusty. We look like we haven't played in a while, and we also look like we have 4 of 5 brand new offensive linemen on our offensive line. So just keep that in mind as you go through and evaluate this. We are going to take a little bit of time to gel. I would say the first quarter of the season, if we can come out of this 3-1, that is a winning first quarter of the season. Break it up into quarters of the season and just do your best to go 3-1 throughout them. And I think we can do it. Scott says Hassan is going to retire at this point. Okay, Jets get the money back on their salary cap, which they already currently do. It would suck, but like, why forego all that money? Like, why not do a hold-in? I don't understand this from Hassan Reddick. It doesn't make any sense to me. Reddick will play like Dalvin Cook after he gets paid. That is the concern, because there was some chatter about maybe he was chasing sacks, which is silly because it is his job to finish the game or finish a play and get the sack. But maybe it was trying to inflate numbers a little bit. I guess maybe there's something like that. But I think there's some concern, right? He's over 30 years old. If you're going to sign him to a 3-year contract, then yeah, you got 3 years of a guy that's over 30 that you're paying premium money to. Come in and perform. Let's see it. Edge rushers can last a little bit longer. But if he thinks he's hitting a downtrend and wants to cash in one more time, and I'd rather not be that guy. Let's see. Parrish says Reddick is set for life. He doesn't care about losing money and will only play if he gets $20 million or more a year for 3 or 5 years. I would say goodbye. We need to re-sign the core players. Yeah, I would not do that. The longest I would consider signing him is a faux 3-year deal. That's really a 2-year contract. That allows you to get out of it and then just eat a bunch of dead money in 2026. We're going to have so much dead money anyway. I'd rather punt on that season, let Jordan Travis have an opportunity to see if he's the guy, than allow Reddick to jack up our ability to re-sign some of our young players. JB says, I'm concerned with Aaron's mobility. That spin out Monday night looked awful. He's never been super mobile anyway, and I'm sure there is some loss of mobility because of the Achilles injury. As long as he could move around a little bit, or at least do the Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, like, oh no, I'm about to get sacked, I'm just going to throw it in the dirt. That's fine with me too. Live the fight another day. You don't have to go crazy. Paris saying, I wouldn't waste resources on Devontae unless Garrett Wilson is injured. The Jets should be trying to bring in a player that could help them at the trade deadline. Devontae Adams would absolutely help us. Absolutely help us. I completely disagree with you here. I would trade a conditional third-round pick or something like that that can elevate high enough to, given certain parameters. I think Devontae Adams, I think wide receiver is a big need. Because what happens if you lose Garrett Wilson after the trade deadline? Mike Williams, is he going to stay healthy? I think it would be a great move to bring in Devontae, even if Garrett's healthy. DeWedge, I'm not impressed by the way the team played the other night. Go Jets. I would say I'm not concerned. And honestly, watching the game, we need Rodgers to just be solid. Let him be like, if he can hit top 15 level quarterback play, this team's going to be pretty tough to beat when we're clicking on all cylinders. Brees doesn't normally fumble that. You don't normally have, receivers dropping wide open passes. So Lazard had a good rest of the game. I don't know. I don't think it's the rule. I think it's just game one. Let's see how it plays out. If we lose to the Titans, I'll definitely be more concerned because then Thursday night is a must win, and a division game, it is always challenging on a short week. Hey, what's up, Andrew? I just came in. McGovern signed. Whoa! I did see some plays on the All-22 where Tittman totally missed his block. Good competition makes great players. Of both. Good competition makes great players. Yes, absolutely. So it's funny. I didn't realize McGovern signed until probably an hour or two after it actually happened. But I like this move. We were talking about it all offseason. I think Tittman does need a little bit of competition behind him. It's not like Wes Schweitzer was going to threaten to take his job or anything. I honestly don't think McGovern's really going to threaten to take his job. I think McGovern's going to be more of an insurance policy for Tittman. And then I think he's more of an insurance policy and will be the first guard up should something happen to John Simpson or AVT. And honestly, it may even be McGovern pops in at center and Tittman kicks out to guard, depending on how things ultimately play out. But I really like the McGovern signing. Also, Ryan, looking good in them glasses. Your wife is a lucky girl. Thank you. This thing's, I think I haven't turned off right now. Yeah. These are the Meta AIs. So these little things on the side are actually cameras. So it's really cool if you use WhatsApp, since it's also a Facebook application, I guess, or owned by Meta. You can actually video chat and use this camera instead of your phone's camera. And you could just, I'm recording videos of my kids, giving me a big hug. Oh, very cool without needing to take my phone out. One of the better purchases that I've made. Some guy. If this continues, Jets should try to trade for Clowney. Panthers could use the picks. Yeah, I would trade for Clowney. That's the player I think we should have signed anyway. I was kind of irked we didn't get him. Tim Wong. Aaron is fine. Play calling. I'm wondering why they've been one-dimensional. Lazard redeemed himself. Yeah, I think Lazard redeemed himself. I think you'll see a better version of Lazard this year with Rodgers. I'm curious to see if we see Downing call plays, because that was something we did see in training camp. It wasn't reported on, but I watched it happen. For the green, I think it was the green and white scrimmage. I'm pretty sure it was. And it was like, I want to say Hackett called the 2-minute offense or red zone offense, and then Downing did everything else. And I haven't seen that happen yet. Hey, what's up, Jake? I see you calling in. I'm not gonna wind up doing call-ins today. Nightbot's just throwing the link in the chat, so you can don't have to worry about it. Not doing the call-ins. He says if they let Garrett Wilson leave, I will lose it. Yeah, I would too. I don't want to see that happen at all. I do think it's something I don't want to think about right now. Of the younger guys, I think Garrett would be the least likely to want to put up with a young quarterback again. So I would think, I don't want to say too much, but I do think there is some concern if we don't have a quarterback post Rodgers. Sharon, salad is bad. We need a meat and potatoes type coach. That's kind of what Ulbrich is, right? Little bit of meat and potatoes. We'll be all right. Hopefully some winning solves everything. I did kind of like Sal. I know fans didn't love it, but there was a comment made by Salah saying our 1-0 start, or our 0-1 start, feels better than our 1-0 start last year. And I completely agree. It was cool as hell to win week 1, but I would have rather lost week 1 last year and kept Aaron Rodgers than how it ultimately played out. The Wedge. We are 0-1. Not good to be 0-2. See or no? Go Jets. Yeah, look, I don't want to be 0-2. Do not want to be 0-2. Francesco, the offense looks better than it did a year ago, for sure. Improvements are necessary for sure, but we are in a better spot. The defense needs to solidify. However, I'm not concerned there either. Yeah, I think this defense is going to take a little bit of a step back. I said that throughout the offseason too. I don't think we're going to be top 5. I think we'll be top 10. But I think the offense is going to go from 32nd to like top 15 by the time the season's over. And that's going to be a huge, huge improvement. Ron Middleton would be a great interim head coach for the Jets. Yeah, I think if Sal is fired, like let's say we go 0-3 and they have to pull the plug, I do think Middleton becomes the head coach. And they keep Hackett as offensive coordinator. They keep Ulbrich as defensive coordinator. We've already seen Middleton take over for Salah when Salah had COVID the one year for the one game. He won that game, and then he was also the head coach for the Senior Bowl 2 years ago, won that game as well. We did get to see Ulbrich as head coach for the Senior Bowl team this past year. So as far as like needing a head coach maybe in the future, I do like Ulbrich, but I think Middleton would probably get the nod. Billy saying we need 2 more good defensive games so we can talk about how much we don't need Reddick. I would love to not need Reddick and like force him to be like, okay, I better just show up at this point. Like clearly it's not happening. We'll see. Robert says, do the Jets re-sign Al Woods? I think he's like done. I know he's a free agent, but he popped an Achilles. So I don't know at his age and his position in particular if that's going to be something he can actually come back from. I don't think it's going to happen. Steven, when Jordan Love comes back, do you think he can win MVP? Also, should I start the Jets defense in fantasy this week or the Cowboys? I don't know who the Cowboys are playing. Jets versus Titans. If it's any indication of what the Bears did, the Bears had a few defensive touchdowns. So probably Jets defense. I'd have to look and see who the Cowboys are actually playing to know if that's even interesting. Tim saying, can't lose to the Titans. They look very mediocre. Week 2 has to be it. We see full Jets effort. Got to see full Jets effort. Oh, Cowboys are playing the Saints. Yeah, no, definitely go with Jets. Did you see this? I mean, I know the Panthers aren't anything to write home about, but the Saints hung like 40 points on the Panthers week 1, and it was supposed to be a 2-point game. I think Saints were favored by 2 points. So I would go Jets defense as opposed to Cowboys. Andrew, some of these comments are so long game focused. Don't mean that as an insult, but there's a way we've had to think as Jets fans for so long. We get to focus on this year. This is so rare for us, LOL. Yeah, I completely agree. It's something I kind of mentioned before. Like the lens needs to be the next 2 years. Focus everything and all your energy into the next 2 years. If you have to give up a first-round draft pick to go get Devontae Adams, tie it to getting into the playoffs. Like make it some clearance. So it's not like, hey, we missed the playoffs and we have to give up a first-round pick. But like I'm cool with throwing assets at these next 2 years to try and get it done, because how often do we have a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers? We don't. It never happens. Try to win while he's here. Paris says, so he's talking, this is a comment back to Andrew's comment just here. I've seen too many Jets teams in my 50-plus years trying to quick fix things to win a Super Bowl, and it never works. You have to build the roster not just for this year, but for next. And that's what we did. This roster outside of Rodgers is really good. Like if you could swap out Rodgers for a different quarterback, it's still a really good team, and it's young, and you can continue building this. So while I agree with what you're saying, I think it's different because you have the quarterback that won 2 MVPs not all that long ago. He does still look sharp. I would say Rodgers is worth building around. And it's not so much a quick fix, because as long as you're not like preventing your young guys from signing, it's really that core 4. in my opinion. It's the Sauce, Brees, Garrett, JJ. I want to keep those guys around. Steven, I hope Aaron wins a ring for y'all. I would be so happy if the Packers don't win. I would be so happy if the Packers don't win it if he gets another ring with the Jets. I would wear my Rodgers jersey if y'all made it to the Super Bowl. Steven, I love that. So if you guys don't know, Steven calls into the call-in show all the time. He's a Packers fan, been following Rodgers ever since he got here. I think you discovered the channel once Rodgers came here, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, we talk like every other week or so. I felt so bad when I saw Love go down. It's not something I want to see. I think he's a really good quarterback. And I would be pulling for the Packers, if the Jets weren't in the Super Bowl on the other side of it. That being said, I hate to say it, but I shouldn't say I hate to say it. I would love to see a Lions-Jets Super Bowl with the Jets winning it. The Lions, I liked Barry Sanders growing up, and they're just kind of the NFC version of the Jets from not having success and everything. So I always want to see that, kind of happen. But I appreciate it. I would pull for Jordan Love just because you're here. All right, are we at an hour? I think we're at about an hour right now. We're at the 57-minute mark. All right, so let me round it back out with my thoughts on this. Connor McGovern getting re-signed. I love it. It's interior offensive line depth. It gives you insurance for Joe Tippmann with a center that knows the offense and had the trust of Aaron Rodgers just last year. You have some guard flexibility, whether that's because Connor McGovern is your next guard up behind AVT or John Simpson, or if it's because you want to move Tippmann to guard because he did play phenomenally well at the guard position last year. I actually think he is a better guard than he is a center, at least right now. And that could change, right? But I like this signing a lot. I think it's something that I would have seen happen, or I thought was going to happen much longer ago. Signing him after week 1 eliminates the need for that guaranteed money. He's able to kind of sit and God forbid something happens, maybe he gets injured, cut him, no harm, no foul. There's no guaranteed money tied to his contract. So I think that's ultimately why the Jets waited so long. I appreciate you guys for hanging out in here for a little bit. Hit that like button. We got over 160 people in here. If you can hit the like button, only 52 likes, goes a long way. But I'll talk to you guys. I'm sure I'll do something tomorrow. I'll do, actually, 77% of you want me to do the Bills-Dolphins game tomorrow. So maybe we'll do that. Maybe I'll sit on the couch. I'll move the setup and I'll sit back there and we'll just kind of hang. But I appreciate you guys. BetUS, thank you so much for sponsoring the stream. Remember, 150% bonus match up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits when using code YouTube150. This is Jets Talk signing off. JETS.